Imagine plucking the Grand Line's most feared powers one by one, earth-splitting quakes in your left hand, light-speed lasers in your right, and a sun god's laughter blazing behind every punch. With the right 20 devil fruits, you wouldn't just chase Gall D, Roger's legend, you'd eclipse it, forcing emperors, admirals, and even the world government to kneel or be erased. In this countdown we'll unveil the fruits that, combined, could crown anyone the true pirate king, mythic zoans that warp reality, logias that rewrite nature's laws, and paramecias so broken the marines try to wipe them from history. Ready to craft the ultimate arsenal and redraw the power map of the One Piece world? Hoist your Jolly Roger, our top 20 begins now. Number 20, Bari Bari no Mi, Barrier Fruit. Picture stepping onto a battlefield where admirals hurl lava and yonkos swing mountain splitters, then raising one invisible wall that nullifies every attack like it's a gentle breeze. That's the Bari Bari no Mi. With a flick of the wrist, the user materializes translucent panes tougher than sea stone. Bartolomeo casually tanked King Elizabello's legendary King Punch, a blow hyped to level a fortress, and didn't even budge. The fruit isn't limited to defense. Barriers morph into stairs, cages, battering rams, even slingshots that ricochet cannonballs straight back at a fleet. Stack several in layers and you've got a mobile bunker that moves as fast as its owner can sprint. No stamina drain, no complex conditions, just pure, impenetrable force on demand. For anyone chasing true Pirate King dominance, the Barrier Fruit lays the perfect foundation. Your heavy hitters charge their world-ending attacks while every enemy realizes their best shot will never even reach its target. Number 19, Niku Niku no Mi, Paw-paw Fruit. Thriller box Moonlit Graveyard. Bartholomew Kumar taps the ground and a cushiony paw print negates every Straw Hat attack before it even forms, proof that the Niku Niku no Mi doesn't block force, it repels reality itself. By the time we reach Sabaody, the scope is terrifying. Kumar flicks a finger and Zoro's accumulated pain erupts as a roaring, red orb. He slaps the air and lightspeed pores teleport an entire supernova crew off the archipelago in an instant. One casual palm strike sends a pacifister hurtling beyond the horizon. The fruit exiles fatigue, memories, even atmosphere. Kumar literally pushes nothingness to create shock waves. Need global travel. One self-targeted pore warps you from paradise to new world in hours. Need artillery. Repel compressed air for an island-busting Ursus's shock. In a Pirate King arsenal, the Paw-paw Fruit is both escape button and long-range cannon, making pursuit impossible. Number 18, Hi Hi no Mi, Ice Ice Fruit. When Admiral Aokiji ambles onto Long Ring Long Land, his laid-back vibe masks a climate-shattering power. The Hi Hi no Mi turns him into living permafrost. He kneels at the shoreline, taps the surf, and winter erupts across the horizon. An entire bay flash freezes in seconds, warships locked in crystal coffins, sea kings paralyzed mid-lunge. Water, the classic devil fruit weakness, becomes his personal interstate highway. In battle the fruit doubles as razor offense. Ice spears skewer pirates at range, Ice Age fishes split bedrock, an ice time capsule suspends foes in cryogenic stasis, perfect trophies for later interrogation. Shattered pieces can even be reassembled, resurrection spell style, if Aokiji feels merciful. Strategically, Hi Hi grants area denial on a continental scale. Freeze a harbor so no reinforcements land, bridge chasms for your army in minutes, or encase an ancient weapon long enough to secure it. Slotted into a Pirate King arsenal, it neutralizes naval blockades and weaponizes the ocean itself, proof that sometimes the coldest route to the throne is literally 273 Kelvin below zero. Number 17, Pika Pika no Mi, Glint-glint Fruit. When Admiral Kizaru materializes on Grove 27, he asks a pirate how fast light travels, then answers by kicking straight through a mangrove at 300,000 kilometers per second. The Pika Pika no Mi converts his body into pure photons. He is the flash, the laser, and the explosion at the end of that laser, all compressed into one insouciant marine in sunglasses. We see the true horror. A casual Yasukani no Magatama turns the sky into a Gatling barrage of sunbeads that pierce warships like tissue, a single light-speed roundhouse sends a supernova pinballing through half the archipelago. Defense? Conventional blades pass harmlessly through his refracted form. Logistics? He bounces across the ocean in blinks, outrunning Viver cards and transponder snails alike. And every photon he splits can be redirected, mirrors, Vegapunk prisms, even Enel's gold could reflect his beams into impossible angles. Plug the Glint-glint fruit into a Pirate King arsenal and you gain instant global strike capability, relativistic mobility, and a deterrent so bright entire navies have to wear eclipse goggles just to aim their cannons. The sea may belong to whoever holds the most power, but the sky, and every battlefield line of sight, belongs to light. Number 16, Magu-magu no Mi, Magma-magma fruit. Admiral Akainu doesn't wield fire, he upgrades it. The Magu-magu no Mi turns his body into pressurized magma hotter than conventional flame and denser than stone, letting each punch erupt like a volcano core mortar. He raises a single fist and Meteor Volcano rains molten meteors over Marineford's Bay, vaporizing icebergs Aokiji had flash frozen seconds earlier. Ace's Mera Mera flames evaporate on contact, proving Magmar's elemental supremacy, siege walls and battleships alike melt into slag. Defense is equally nightmarish, physical strikes sink harmlessly into molten torso, while stray blobs of magma drop off him like napalm grenades, reshaping the terrain into rivers of fire. Need strategic control. Akainu reglasses the battlefield to funnel opponents, seals sea routes by superheating water into explosive steam, and can theoretically trigger island-level eruptions wherever he plants his feet. In a Pirate King loadout, the Magma-magma fruit provides raw destructive presence and hard counters most Logias, ensuring any enemy fortress, be it ice, wood, or steel, ends as a glowing crater before negotiations even begin. Number 15, Ito Ito no Mi, String fruit. Doflamingo doesn't just pull strings, he is the strings. When the former warlord strides into Dressrosa's throne room raiseth in filament spool from his fingertips, slicing stone columns like fresh bread and stitching a bullet wound in his own torso mid-conversation. He levitates by latching clouds, turns random citizens into unwilling gladiators via parasite, and decapitates foes at city-block range with overheat, then drops the nuclear option, birdcage. An awakened tsunami of nearly invisible threads erupts sky-high, encasing the entire kingdom in a shrinking dome tougher than sea stone, cutting mountains, meteors, even Fugitora's gravity slashes while funneling every living thing toward one panicked center. Inside those walls, Doflamingo's awakened ability lets him transmute the very ground into string, spawning instant whips, clones, and bullet storms anywhere he sets foot. Strategically, the Ito Ito no Mi is a one-fruit fortress, flight, surgery, puppetry, crowd control, and battlefield terraforming in a single package. Drop this power into a Pirate King arsenal and you gain the ultimate tactician's toolkit, able to seal off an island for ransom, control enemy admirals like marionettes, or weave an aerial highway over any blockade. Number 14, Tori Tori no Mi, Model, Phoenix. The moment Marco streaks above Marineford, his body erupts into crystalline blue wings, introducing the only zoan that heals rather than harms. The Phoenix fruit grants full avian flight and talon kicks strong enough to rattle admirals, but its signature edge is regeneration flames that stitch flesh together faster than swords can reopen it. A pacifister laser punches a hole clean through Marco's torso. The wound seals before the smoke even clears. Those flames aren't selfish. By brushing allies, Marco shares a burst of restorative fire, plugging bullet wounds and clearing battlefield fatigue, essentially fieldcasting group second wins during the most brutal war in marine history. Combine that with dive bomb speed, Logia-esque intangibility, the flames disperse attacks before reforming, and Harki-coated kicks that sent Kizaru pinwheeling, and you have the ultimate combat medic. Slot the Phoenix into a Pirate King arsenal and casualties plummet to zero while air superiority soars. Enemy forces face an endless loop, injure, watch it burn blue, repeat, until morale breaks long before the Phoenix does. Number 13, fewer no mi, float fruit. When Golden Lion Shiki carves half of Marineford's plaza sky high in Roger's flashback, the world learns gravity can be optional. The fewer no mi lets its user nullify weight in anything they touch, warships, boulders, even entire islands, then steer those Leviathans through the air like remote-controlled dreadnoughts. In Strong World, Shiki levitates an archipelago, straps engines to the landmasses, and plans to rain hungry mutant beasts on the East Blue at will. Offensively, every lifted object becomes a projectile, battleships hurled like shotputs, mountain ranges repurposed as city-killer meteors, or razor coral reefs dropped on unsuspecting fleets. Defensively, a lifted island serves as an untouchable mobile base. Enemies without flight can only watch as cannons rain down from the clouds. The fruit even grants personal flight. Shiki segues from sword clashes straight into mid-air ballet, turning dogfights into sword-draw duels at 10,000 feet. Fold the float fruit into a Pirate King arsenal and you gain instant air superiority, portable strongholds, and planet-scale artillery. See routes, tidal patterns, even Kaido's flame cloud tricks bow to the original Sky Pirate who literally rewrote the map in 3 dimensions. Number 12, Gura no mi, rumble fruit. When Enel flickers onto Skypia's upper yard, the sky itself trembles. The Gura no mi converts his body into living lightning. At will he jumps through gold circuitry, rematerializes behind opponents, and blasts 30 million volt bolts that roast platoons in a blink. But the fruit's ceiling soars for higher. He swells into Amaru, a storm god avatar crackling with 200 million volts, hot enough to fuse bedrock into glass and vaporize giant Jack's treetop in a single hand clap. Offensively, Gura offers lightspeed javelins, area-wide EMP bursts, and an island-spanning Rago sphere that promise to erase all of Skypia in one strike. Defensively, physical attacks pass straight through ionized plasma, reforming behind Enel before you can blink. Even Harkey-less Logia counters fail because few can touch what's faster than thought. The fruit doubles as a surveillance suite, mantra, observation Harkey piggybacks on electromagnetic resonance, mapping every heartbeat within 30 kilometers, meaning ambushes don't exist. Add the rumble fruit to a Pirate King toolkit and you secure omnipresent reckon, instant global travel via conductive materials, and artillery on par with ancient weapons. Oceans may ground lesser Logias, but when your entire body is a thunderhead, the only limit is where the next bolt decides to strike. Number 11, Soru no mi, soul fruit. Charlotte Lin doesn't conquer islands one cannon at a time, she steals their lifespan. The Soru no mi lets Big Mom rip fragments of human souls with a single question: are you afraid of death? We watch Fishman pirates collapse as decades of their lives spiral into her palm. She weaponizes that fear wholesale, yanking months from an entire city block in seconds. Those harvested fragments become humus, sentient constructs bound to her will. Zeus whips up continent-level thunderstorms, Prometheus ignites firestorms hotter than Akainu's magma, Napoleon shifts from bicorn to broadsword, swinging Harkey-clad air blades that carve castle towers. And if an enemy shows the slightest flicker of terror, Lin can drain them to a husk mid-swing, adding fresh years to her own monstrous vitality. Strategically, the soul fruit is empire in a box, instant labor force, animated trees and rivers obey, living weather artillery, and a built-in population tax that funds eternal youth. Slotted into a Pirate King arsenal and conquered islands feed you both tribute and power, while enemies who dare resist see their futures siphoned away in a heartbeat. Number 10, unnamed mythical zoan, model, Gyuki. When Egghead's night sky ignites in a pentagram of black fire, one of their 5 elders steps through, and the world meets its newest horror. Saint Jagasia Satan doesn't summon power, he becomes it, morphing into a yokai straight from Wano legend, a towering bull spider whose curved horns drip corrosive ichor. Vegapun's Mark III lasers bounce off hide as tough as sea stone, while serrated legs skewer iron bulkheads and anchor the Elder like a living fortress. Wounds seal the instant they open, acidic blood eats through alloy decks, and a single paralytic glare freezes Vice Admirals mid-charge. Conqueror's Haki pulses from the creature in rhythmic shock waves, snuffing weaker wills before swords can even clash. In one transformation, Saturn functions as biological buster call, battlefield lockdown, and immortal deck guardian all at once. Exactly the kind of nightmare a would-be pirate king needs to keep enemy fleets trembling at the gangplank. Number 9, unnamed mythical zoan, model, Fengi Boar. Eggheads steal earthquakes when Saint Topman Wokuri slams his cane into the deck and detonates into a myth straight out of ancient Wano, a Fengi Boar, a demon hog the size of a battleship, its shaggy white fur rippling with heat haze. One opening charge sends the iron giant skidding like scrap, horns gouging trenches through sea stone plating. With every thunderous stride, the creature's mass and momentum snowball, turning its next tackle into an unstoppable battering ram that can punch clear through Admiral-class Haki. A single tusk thrust cracks bedrock in a seismic ripple, flipping pacifister units and shattering fortress walls, while the boar's scorching aura incinerates cannon fire before it reaches hide. Bullet wounds and sword gashes seal the instant they appear, leaving pursuers faced with a regenerating avalanche that only grows deadlier. Insert this warpig into a Pirate King arsenal, Marine Phalanx or Yonko Barricade will collapse. Number 8, unnamed mythical zoan, model, Bakatu Horse. A hush falls over Egghead when Saint Nusjiro's topknot shivers, and his silhouette melts into a skeletal nightmare straight from Edo Ghost Scrolls. The Bakatu Horse is part dusk stallion, part sword wraith, lacquer-black ribs exposed, smoke-veined muscle flexing beneath spectral hide, and a manet that flickers like torchlight in a typhoon. Unlike his fellow elders, Nusjiro doesn't ride the beast, he becomes it, fusion of rider and mount, wielding his Nadachi as a literal extension of razor-boned forelegs. Speed blurs to near teleportation. One hoof tap leaves after images slicing through pacifister armor before the clang reaches bystanders. He gallops vertically, hooves sparking across air itself, then plunges in a corkscrew dive that splits Vega Force 01's alloy hull like bamboo. Each ghostly whinny unleashes a pressure wave that shatters glass domes and scrambles observation Haki, while skeletal limbs regenerate the moment Haki blades find purchase. Strategically, Bakatu Horse is a cavalry charge and aerial dogfighter in one package, ideal for hunting down light logias or blitzing through barrier fruit bunkers that stop slower tanks. Pair Nusjiro's warp speed swordplay with Kaido's area nukes and Shiki's skyborne fortresses, and enemies face a three-dimensional kill box where the first thing they hear is hoofbeats, and the last is steel whispering through bone. Number 7, unnamed mythical zoan, model, Itsumade. Saint Marcus Maz merely exhales, and his human frame elongates into the Itsumade, a colossal night vulture fused with serpent coils and ember-red plumage. One wing beat eclipses Egghead's horizon, the downdraft alone craters asphalt and sends Mark III pacifisters tumbling like tin toys. Maz's hooked beak and talons gleam with advanced Haki, but raw talon work is just the overcheat. When the Harbinger opens its throat, a concussive death shriek erupts, vibrating at a frequency that liquefies sea stone shackles and scrambles internal organs within a city-block radius. Mid-air, the Itsumade manipulates atmospheric pressure, spawning razor wind sickles that carve railgun towers in half, or torching targets with gusts superheated by its own burning feathers. Damaged wings refeather instantly, each ember regrowing into full span before the enemy can reload. Observation Haki users falter, the bird's scream floods the senses with static, reducing future sight to blind guesswork. Strategically, Maz functions as airborne artillery and electronic warfare jamming in one mythic package, perfect for tearing open Shiki's levitating fortresses, silencing Enel's island-wide radar, or shepherding Kaido's flame-cloud islands along hurricane tunnels. In a Pirate King arsenal, the Itsumade guarantees that every battlefield begins under an ill-omened shadow and ends beneath a rain. Number 6, unnamed mythical zoan, model, Sandworm Leviathan. When St. Jupiter's corpulent silhouette slithers forward and vanishes into the soil, Egghead's foundations quake. Seconds later, a Sandworm Leviathan erupts, a cathedral length more ringed with obsidian fangs and plated in June-colored keratin harder than sea stone. The creature moves like a living tectonic fault, each burrow carves subway-wide tunnels through bedrock, collapsing fortifications from below. Each surface breach catapults 1,000-ton shards of earth that rain down like meteorites. Battleships don't sink, they disappear, swallowed whole and ground to scrap in a spiral gullet lined with Haki-tipped barbs. Sonic pulses emitted from its skull grant seismic echolocation, mapping subterranean targets the moment they think to dig in. Wounds that would fell an ancient giant seal under freshly secreted armor sand. Attackers find their blades screeching off a hide that thickens after every strike. Strategically, the Sandworm is the ultimate siege breaker and transport. Tunnel a fleet beneath marine blockades, sabotage island foundations, or surface beneath an enemy's flagship to swallow admiral and mast alike. Slotted into a pirate king arsenal, Jupiter turns the very planet into quicksand, ensuring no fortress, vault, or refuge remains beyond the crew's reach, or outside the Leviathan's appetite. Number 5, Gura Gura no Mi, Quake-quake fruit. When Edward Newgate cocks a fist into empty air, the sky itself fractures, proof that the Gura Gura no Mi doesn't punch opponents, it punches reality. One swing at Marineford, EP for 61, tilts the ocean, birthing twin tsunamis that dwarf the red line. Another drives a tremor through bedrock, splitting the harbor and every battleship moored within. Sea quakes swallow fleets, land quakes crumble fortresses, and air quakes shatter pressure itself into concussive shrapnel that flings giants like toys. Even Magma Fist Akainu had to respect raw physics when Whitebeard cancelled his blow with an equal and opposite Quake orb. Slot this fruit into a Pirate King arsenal and you gain a Doomsday Gavel. One decisive smash can erase strongholds, redraw coastlines, and force the world government to negotiate before you've even stated your demands. Number 4, Uo no Mi, Model, Seiryu, Azure Dragon fruit. Kaido isn't merely a beast who ate a mythical zoan, he is a flying natural disaster in scaly form. When the Yonko's sake-soaked laugh melts into a thunderous roar, EP 914, flesh expands into a serpentine Seiryu whose coils blot out Wano's moon. One lazy sweep of his tail pulverizes Odin Castle. A casual blast breath vaporizes a mountain ridge in a beam so hot the stone glows white before it shatters. The fruit's trump card arrives during the Onigashima raid. EP 999 Kaido summons flame clouds, hooks them under the island's bedrock, and lifts the entire Skull Fortress, pagodas, weapons factories, and tens of thousands of soldiers into the stratosphere, steering it toward the flower capital like a doomsday zeppelin. In battle he mixes aerial supremacy with elemental barrages, heat beam, bolo breaths, tornado forging kaifu slashes, and lightning-charged Raimai haki swings that one-shot gear forth Luffy. Enma-forged sword strikes score only grudging scars. Even advanced Conqueror's Harki clashes devolve into slugfests of attrition few can survive. Number 3, Yami no Mi, Dark fruit. When Marshal D. Teach spreads his arms and the daylight dims, you meet the only Logia that doesn't evade damage, it devours it. The Yami no Mi turns Blackbeard into a living gravity well, the ground ripples like liquid, buildings implode toward him, and cannon fire warps into orbit around a vortex of void. Then Marineford's chaos proves the true horror. Teach drags Ace's flames, Whitebeard's quake orbs, even magma chunks toward his fist, nullifying their powers before releasing it all in a black hole blast that levels the plaza. Key arsenals: Dark Vortex, Kuruzu, one-hand gesture yanks opponents, Devil Fruit users included, into grappling range, nullifying abilities on contact. Black Hole, darkness spreads across terrain, swallowing cannonballs, bullets, and whole city blocks into crushing oblivion. Liberation, everything consumed can be expelled as a hyper-compressed explosion, turning enemy attacks back on themselves with interest. Unlike other Logias, Yami amplifies pain, Teach takes damage, but his abnormal body and stolen Gura Gura no Mi prove he can weaponize that risk. Strategically, the fruit is the ultimate counter. Sea stone cuffs unnecessary, Harki optional, just drag an admiral into the dark and snuff their power. Plug it into a Pirate King toolkit and you gain battlefield control, power theft, and fear that melts even Yonko bravado. In the face of living void, light, fire, ice, and even earthquakes are reduced to fodder swirling around one man's hungry grin. Number 2, Mythical Zoan, Model, Leviathan, Imu's World Eraser. Storm clouds coil above Pangaea Castle when the throne room's shadow rises and flesh warps into a creature no myth dares name. Imu's Zoan awakening manifests as the Leviathan, a midnight Leviate serpent whose scaled wings blot out the sun they are about to consume. One languid inhale drags light itself across the sky. Day turns to violet dusk as photons spiral into the monster's fanged maw. Moments later a beam of negative brilliance lances downward, and an entire test island vanishes, sea rushing in to fill a smoking void where geography used to be. Key horrors: light devour, anything luminous, lasers, lightning, even sunlight, bends toward the Leviathan, nullifying ranged attacks and plunging battlefields into darkness Imu alone can see through. Void breath, the stolen energy is refocused into a pillar that erases matter at the molecular level, leaving nothing but a glassy crater and lingering gravitational tremors. Event horizon scales, projectiles slow, then stop. As space distorts around the serpent's hide, Haki-coated weapons crumble under stresses normally found near black holes. Regal regeneration, wounds close behind a lattice of refracted dusklight, making permanent injury nearly impossible without equal mythic force. Strategically, the Leviathan is an ancient weapon wrapped in flesh. Deploy it once and a rebellious kingdom is scratched from maps. Deploy twice and continental balance sheets redraw overnight. Slotted into a Pirate King arsenal, it becomes the supreme deterrent. A single glide over enemy waters forces every admiral, yonko, and elder to calculate whether their legacy is worth the risk of literal oblivion. Number 1, Hito no Mi, Model, Nika, Sun God Fruit. At the edge of death on Onagashima's rooftop, Luffy's heartbeat shifts into a bouncy calypso, the drums of liberation, and the world meets the legend the world government tried to erase. Their mythical Nika model doesn't enhance strength the way other zoans do. It hands the user the author's pen and says, rewrite the rules. Freedom physics. Rubber ceases to be a limit and becomes a suggestion. Luffy grabs lightning bolts like jump ropes, inflates his arm to island size for Beidran gun, and turns ground into rubberized trampolines that fling Yonko sky high. Everything he imagines, the environment obeys. Cartoon logic weaponized at Emperor scale. Haki amplifier. Conquerors and armament Haki mesh with rubber elasticity, letting punches detonate without contact and forcing Kaido's advanced Haki to bend or break. Morale engine. The fruit's laughter is contagious, allies feel lighter, enemies lose nerve. In a series where willpower equals power, Nika's aura is a battlefield buff, debuff on a mythic tier. Counter immunity. Logia intangibility. Rubber molds around it. Sea stone shackles. Melt away once the user's heartbeat hits that liberated rhythm. Even Imu's light-devouring void breath would stretch and snap back like a gag slingshot if the sun god willed it. Strategically, the Nika fruit completes a Pirate King arsenal by adding pure narrative sovereignty. Earthquakes, magma, gravity wells, island-eating dragons. None matter if the sun god decides the fight should be fun instead of fatal. And fun, in Luffy's hands, is a fist the size of Onigashima crashing through tyrants' dreams while everyone else can't help but laugh. From indestructible barriers and lightning warp teleportation to dragon fire that lifts islands and a sun god's fist that rewrites physics, these 20 devil fruits don't just tilt the power scale, they snap it in half and throw the pieces overboard. Wield them all and the Grand Line itself becomes your playground, admirals your target practice, and the title of Pirate King little more than a formality. Think a different fruit deserves a spot, or would you shuffle the order? Drop your take in the comments, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're on deck the moment the next power ranking sets sail. The seas aren't getting any calmer, and neither are we.